Joining us now is Trump campaign national co-chairman and chief policy advisor Sam Clovis. Sam, Donald Trump not only calling Hillary the devil, kind of following up on Ben Carson calling her Lucifer during the RNC, but he also implied that the election, and here's what he asked. He said the election is going to be rigged. What does he mean by that? And what is the message to his supporters when you're talking about a rigged election?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the perception a lot of people have that you go out there and you vote, and there's always this hint of voter fraud. This has been a common theme, I think, if you go back to even to the 2000 election. It really started with the Bush-Gore, and there's a whole, I guess I'd hate to put it in the dark conspiracy theories out there, but a lot of people do have those thoughts, and I don't, but a lot of people do have those thoughts about the fact that that there is a perception of fraud that's associated with some of these election results, and particularly in some states.
But if you're trying to rally the troops and get undecided voters onto your side, what does saying that do come November?
I think what the underlying message is you got to get out there and work. You got to do. When I campaigned, I used to have this phrase that you always have to do one more thing. And that one more thing is you can't just write a check. You just can't put a yard sign up in your yard. You've got to go out and help get the vote out. And this is one of the things that we're spending a tremendous amount of time and effort on, is behind the scenes, is working on this get out the vote movement.
You know, Sam, this is David, and I get that. You said it, though, the one more thing, and what to Dagan's point. You know, Trump gets up there and he talks about the election may be rigged. We know how the Electoral College works. The electors are put in place, winner take all, except for Maine and Nebraska. But what he should say, let me give I must be in the advice business. I was doing it last night on my radio show. So a little more advice for Donald Trump. If you're going to say he's worried about the election being rigged and voter fraud, which does exist, then you need to tell people, look, I need you to become poll watchers. We've got the Republican National Lawyers Association out there. All right, Larry Levy doing a great job leading that organization. They're out there putting lawyers in place when needed. You've got to get people to get active. You've got to make sure that it's being done correctly. See, this is what he's got to do. He's got to give them the action point afterwards, because otherwise it just sounds like a catchy punchline, and it doesn't tell the independents what to do. It doesn't tell people what to watch out for.
Well, I agree with that, David. I couldn't agree more. I think that one of the things that you'll see as we go through the summer and into Labor Day is we will start to see a lot more of this, where we'll have our warm-up. We have a warm-up act. We never talk about how we go out and warm up the crowds and we get people fired up. We put a lot of that messaging up front.
But
and then
Mr. Trump, Sam, I'm sorry, but with all due respect, the people, that's not the soundbite we're playing. And Donald Trump's got to make sure that his is the soundbite. He's the candidate. And by the way, I'm for him. I'm just saying we got to do better.
No, I agree, David. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Hey, Sam, this is Mike Block. I just want to change gears here a little bit. Yesterday, we just showed the clip of Mr. Trump where he was sort of berating Sanders supporters for siding with, as he put it, the devil. Now, along the way, Trump has said that he said a lot of Sanders supporters would come his way. One thing that I've seen is sort of flipping it back around is a lot of the Democrats and people on the left and even some people on the right like pointing at Trump supporters and basically saying, you're stupid for supporting that guy. Well, you know what that does? People don't like being called stupid. People don't like being called berated. And I think it actually swung people over to say, oh, yeah, well, actually, I support this guy. I see his merits. But now we have Mr. Trump kind of turning around and doing the same thing to Sanders supporters. How's he going to win those people? Is that still important?
Well, I think it is, and I think one of the things that we're really looking at here is something you've got to watch over the summer as we head into Labor Day. And I think Dagan's got it exactly right. Labor Day is where the sprint starts. You've got to start looking for the message that gives people a reason to vote for you as opposed to against the other candidate. That's paramount. I don't care. In all the years I've been watching politics for over 50 years, I've never seen an election where people won based on voting against somebody. You always had to find a reason to vote for somebody, and I think that's really what we're driving at. And we've got to find a reason to vote for a candidate, not against somebody.
The Clinton campaign is working carefully to make this a referendum on Donald Trump, and it's something that you guys got to be on top of. I want to ask you about billionaire Warren Buffett. He was with Hillary Clinton yesterday in Omaha, going after, don't sound so excited, Sam, going after Donald Trump over not releasing his tax returns. So listen to this and I'll get your response.
You're only You're only afraid if you got something to be afraid about. And he's not afraid because of of the IRS. He's afraid because of you.
Sam, he tries awfully hard to sound folksy and be folksy and eating hamburgers and drinking cherry cokes, but he's a multi-billionaire. What do you say?
I think that he is absolutely the personification of crony capitalism. You have to look at no more of what the delays in the Keystone Pipeline and what his railroad interests have done and how they've profited from that. He is the absolute personification of crony capitalism, and look who he's cozied up to. He's cozied up to somebody who's going to continue that, not somebody who's going to go in and break up the monopolies that we have there.
Well, then, Sam, why doesn't Donald Trump get out there and fight back? He's got plenty of ammo with this Warren Buffett attack from last night.
I think the overall issue is, and I hate to borrow anything from the Clintons, but it is about the economy. I mean, I want to tell you right now, the GDP numbers right now, you talk about putting a cold shiver through you. Look at those GDP numbers and look at where we've been for the last 16 years. We have averaged a 1.38% average growth in GDP for 16 years. That is absolutely unacceptable. And look where we are. And I heard someone talking this morning, maybe it was on this channel, maybe another, talking about unemployment numbers, and I'm sitting there thinking, so what are you talking about? We got 10 million people that ought to be working that aren't. So it ought to be about the economy. It ought to be about immigration. It ought to be about raising salaries. It ought to be about all of those things out there driving this message on there. And I think that this is really, you know, where it comes down to it, that's the message that's going to win, because when you are able to convince people that you can eliminate the uncertainty in their lives by going out there and freeing up the economy to allow them to achieve at the level that they have the potential to do, that's the winning message, and that's the message we ought to be out there driving.
Sam Clovis, it's always good to see you.
Well, roll Tide, Dagan.
See? I always pause to give you the opportunity to say that very thing. Sam Clovis, thanks so much.